So for the next part of the myofascial release, we're going to use a lacrosse ball. If you don't have a lacrosse ball, you can find anything baseball. Search around my car, what I found was a wiffle ball, so we're going to use that. So the beauty of this is you can get in smaller areas that you can't with the foam roller. Foam roller is a little larger. You're getting much bigger surface area, where this you can get more pinpoint, you can get deeper into tissues. So for this, we're going to start with the calf, just like we did with the foam roller. This one we're going to do a little different because the foam roller is bigger. We can get up higher on top of it and get a little more leverage. With this, we have to kind of use the rest of our body for leverage. So we're just going to start down at the bottom. What I want you to do is use your other hands to kind of push into this, and we're just going to work back and forth. Again, you get to the outside there, work, you can throttle your foot back towards you, back away, and we're just going to dig through this whole calf area. Again, any spot that's tight, you can try to contract, sink into it, relax, and we just work our way up. Also, the nice thing about this is you can be a little more pinpoint with it. This is a little more relaxing of a position to work on than trying to support my whole weight on my hands. Just work our way up here, get into the outside, and we'll get on the inside as well. You're just moving this around, finding spots that are tender, working back and forth through there. The other one we can do is the front. So for this, you kind of bring it close to you. We're going to bring this in, and then I'm just going to throttle my foot kind of back and forth here as I move this up and down, kind of moving it back and forth. So this is the same way we did when we were up on top of the foam roller, but now we're just in a seated position and just kind of working our way through our shin area, all off to the side there. Any areas that are tight, holding it, working back and forth, kind of getting through the whole area. Usually up top here, a little higher, it's going to be a lot tighter. It's a much bigger part of the muscle. All right. So we work through that. And again, same thing with stretching. It's going to be about 30 minutes. So this side, clear this leg out just so I can do it. You don't have to do this. If you want to get a little hamstring stretch while you're at it, though, you can. So again, we're working through, and I'm just putting a little downward pressure here and trying to kind of smash my way through the calf. Get a little on the inside, same thing. Again, using the kind of toe back, toe away from you to create a little more tension when you find areas that need it. If you do want to get into here and do it this way, you can. I just kind of like the utilizing the ground a little more to kind of get deeper into some of these areas. And again, side to side down below. Try to work back and forth across that, especially even down into the Achilles here. We can use this, kind of mobilize some of those tissues. And again, we're going to get onto the front here. So we're into this, and we're just going to work back and forth, up and down, in all the directions. Also, the good thing too with the lacrosse ball or baseball or whatever you're using is you can be a little more exact. I can use different pressure very quickly. I can put all my force into it. I can put a little bit, depending on what the area calls for, where it's a little harder to make those adjustments sometimes with the foam roller. So again, working all through the anterior tib, up and down as I work through that tissue. Alright, so the next part we're going to get into is the hamstring. I prefer if you do this if you do it on a bench, but if you don't have a bench available or it's too soft, which is usually the case with most chairs, like an office chair, you need something hard, the floor works fine. So again, I'm here, I'm just going to get into a hamstring stretch, and then I just want to work this back and forth across my hamstring. Try this way, and just keep working it up higher and higher as you get it closer to kind of the glute in the bottom of your hip here. And just keep moving that foot back and forth so you get the inner side, outside of the hamstring. And even higher up still to where I'm almost sitting on it. And up here is where you're going to get a lot of the kind of discomfort. It's usually where the attachment is up there. It's where we get most of our kind of uncomfortable little tension. It's where the fascia gets kind of bound up. So you got to spend a little more time in there. Again, you can contract, drive into it, relax, come on back out. Get a little more to the outside there on this one. On this other side, there's a different way you can do this also. You can come through and actually pull this in, kind of like we do with the front of our leg, and then we bring our leg out that way. So if you find a spot that's really tense, you can try this, usually more towards the outside, but getting into that stretch position at the end, just working your way all through that hamstring. And again, this is what we do on a bench. If your leg was hanging over, you could work through that same thing. So again, we're just here, and we're just going to work back and forth through this. Side to side, again, you can contract, try to lock that knee out, squeeze your quad to drive your leg deeper into the ball. Relax, and just breathe throughout this. And go into the higher area. Next part is going to be the hip. So we're going to get up into the glutes. This one you don't have to do a ton, right? We don't need a lot of body weight on this. We're just going to sit on this thing lightly. And you can kind of keep the leg relaxed. You can get up here if you want. That's going to be a lot of pressure though, so I just keep your leg low to the ground. And you're just kind of moving back and forth, finding any of those areas that are really stiff, really tight. Again, the outside of the hip. If you want here, you can move this leg in and out as you find a spot. You could also do this against a wall. If you don't have the floor, you can just pin yourself up against the wall and do the same motion, just getting all into the glute, working different aspects. All right, so you find an area, again, you can contract, squeeze your glute, relax, try to sink deeper into this. Probably get some funny looks if you're doing this and no one can see that you're actually sitting on a lacrosse ball, right? It looks a little awkward, but if you find some decent spots, you can get in much more pinpoint with this than you can with a foam roller. So same thing, we're going to be rolling over to the other side. So we're getting into our glute. Right, all on the side here. I'm just going to sit right up on top of this guy, bend the leg in a little bit so you get deeper into the muscles, and then go from there. Alright, so we got through that side. So the next part we're going to be doing is your hip flexors. So we're going to get right into the hip flexors, just like we did with the other one, again with the foam roller weight rolling onto the side, so we're going to do the same thing. And for this, it's going to the inside of your pocket here. We're just going to sit on this guy, and then you put some of your weight into it, and we're just working back and forth. Again, if you want, you can bring your leg up, bring it back, kind of drive through. I usually just like the turn part of it. Rolling through that way, squeeze the glute again. Right, the opposing muscle group, we're going to drive our hip into the ground, relax, see if we can sink a little deeper into that hip. Is your quadriceps. So we're going to go all on this. So we'll go back to the left side. And again, what we want to do, I'm just going to rest my leg on top of it here. I can get in a plank position. I can lay all the way on the ground. Depending on how hard this is and how much I'm constantly driving my leg into the ground, I'm just going to work through this way. Getting in to the inside, back to the outside. If I want more weight, right, I can get up on it a little more, use more of my body weight. But I think for most spots, especially if you're sore, you're going to find that this is probably enough. And I'm just sliding down, working inside and out, just taking my leg through the whole range of motion, finding any areas that are tight or restricted, sliding down, working our way all the way back to that kind of hip flexor that we were just at. So we're starting down at the knee, working all these areas, finding our way back. And again, I can try to drive my knee into the ground as I work through that. If I want a little more tension, and then make sure to work all directions. Alright, back to the other side we go. So again, I'm just going to be right on top of this ball. Start towards the bottom of our knee here. And again, we're just working through this range of motion. Each direction, Usually I just take about a few kind of leg curls through each range and then get to the next spot and do the next section, same thing. Again, keep that tension on there, keep pushing down. If you want more, pop into a plank, get a little more of your body weight into it. You can drive that leg even harder into the ground. And then do inside, outside. Just make sure you kind of bring in your heel to all 3 sections here. Inside, straight, and to the outside. Good. And then for this last one, what we're going to get is your QL. So your quadratus lumborum, it starts kind of here. So you're going to be right above your hip bone, top of your hip bone here, and then you're going to be below your rib cage. So you're working right into this area, and we're actually going to try to come inward, so almost at a diagonal into our back. So for this one, we're going to find that spot first, and we're going to go on our left side. And then what I want you to do is bring your left ankle on top of your right knee, like you're stretching your piriformis, and then we're going to bring these legs pretty close together, and then I just want you to shift your weight on top of it. And for this, we're just kind of backing off, pin it when you can find it, and then come back from there. So get a little shift, tack it down. From here I can kind of push my low back into the ground, really get into that muscle, and then relax and release. If I want to use my arm too as well, I can reach above. As I bring that knee towards the ground, really drive it in, and come on back out of it. And let's do 2 more there, really drive in, work all the way, come on back. Keep breathing through that lacrosse ball, baseball, whatever you found. All right, let's get to the other side. Same thing. So I'm here. If you have something to put your legs up on, you can do that as well. So for this side, I'll kind of demonstrate. So we're here into this side. Remember, we're coming in here above the hip, right underneath our rib. And then for this one, we're going to bring the right leg on top of the left one, so it's the ankle is up of whatever side you're on. My other leg, if I want, I can bring it up here, and then I can still shift that weight on top. Again, you don't have to do this. Just being on the ground with the other foot is fine. But if you do have something to elevate it on, you can get even deeper into that, and you can kind of relax your back in a little better position by rounding your hips up. If you want to, you can even just put your foot against a wall, a pole, something else. It's very close to that piriformis stretch we did before. Just in there. Again, we can bring that arm up. Stretch through there. Let's get one more deep one. All the way into there, get that QL so you can get that thing to open up. And relax. So that's it. So we kind of used a lacrosse ball, or in this case a wiffle ball, which really didn't make it. These things seen better days. But if you have a tennis ball, even probably a little soft dog toy, I've seen people use different things, you can utilize that to kind of get some myofascial release in different areas if you don't have a foam roller. And as you can kind of see, if you do both of them, some are better for different areas than others. So hopefully you can use that either when you're sore or before your next workout to kind of mobilize some tissues. Thanks.